Call it the tale of two cities. A bustling Clarksville with shops and dining along Veterans Parkway.
What we're envisioning is, like I told you, Penny's, Barnes & Noble or something like that. Some restaurants, some pretty nice restaurants.
But on the other side of the highway in Jeffersonville, all that is just a plan. The Jeffersonville Town Center has been under development for 6 years. The thought is to build something similar to the Springhurst Town Center in East Louisville. And while the economy has slowed progress recently, there's another problem standing in the way.
Just a family atmosphere. And that's not conducive to a family atmosphere.
That is Theataire X. It's technically in Clarksville. On one side is I-65, but out the front door is Highway 31, the dividing line between Clarksville and Jeffersonville.
If that was on the other side of 65, Clarksville wouldn't have developed.
No, it's your problem.
Well, that's okay. We'll deal with it.
And they are building berms to block the line of sight to Theataire X.
Theataire X, I came across there one night. My friends and I went out, and we just thought it would be cool to go inside it.
It's something this man wishes he never saw either.
Like I said, when I tried to attempt suicide because I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I didn't just,
Robert didn't want us to use his last name, but says he first visited Theataire X with some friends as a senior in high school. And the peep booth area down a long, dark hallway piqued his interest.
And so that's what first intrigued me.
So you went back?
Yeah, I went back.
Robert says he was already questioning his sexuality. And Theataire X, with the glory holes between peep booth walls and anything goes policy in the theaters, provided the opportunity to experiment.
So, you go in there, you're able to see porn, have sex with people, walk away, and you can go on about your business. And no one else knows unless they see you pull out of the parking lot. They don't know what you're doing in there.
In fact, Robert had gotten married, keeping his visits to Theataire X 3 to 4 times a week a secret for years.
The guilt got to me because I couldn't go on doing that to my wife.
A divorce and sex addiction therapy followed, but it all came at a high cost.
What kills me is the other people involved in this. They don't see my wife's tears and me, the pain of her having to know what her husband's doing. There's a peace knowing that I can get up in the morning, I can go out here on a ridge, I can be quiet with God.
Robert now lives a long way from the bright lights of Theataire X, finding solitude and simplicity. He counsels other men addicted to sex, and he knows his Theataire X story is not unique.
One of my former jobs, I just looked out the window one day and I saw a guy that I was with, and I saw him getting out of his car with his wife and his little baby. I had no idea that this guy was married and had a family. And that it just put a picture, I was like, man, his wife doesn't even know.
A former FBI agent who spent 23 years investigating sex crimes does know. He says these businesses attract trouble.
That if you just investigate and seize the sexually oriented businesses, all the other crimes in the area go down about 30%, saving the city money, building up the value of the land, more revenue for the city.
That task is now in the hands of the Clarksville Town Council and police, and their actions could impact an entire region, marriages, and lives. And of course, we'll be tracking their progress every step of the way. Carrie Weil, Wave 3 News.
In the dark halls of Theataire X, our cameras expose violation after violation of the Clarksville Town Ordinance regulating adult businesses and clear criminal activity. From doors on peep booths to so-called glory holes between them and open sex.
We were absolutely shocked at what we found. I mean, this is what we do all the time.
Brian Wickens is president of ROC, which stands for Reclaim Our Culture Kentuckiana. He spearheaded an investigation into Theataire X almost 3 years ago, sending in a retired FBI agent 5 times over 2 years. The investigator then detailed what he found in a series of reports.
We feel the right thing to do is to give it to those public officials, those people who can do something about it, enforce the law, that are there to protect all of us.
In fact, that's what Rock did almost a year ago, turning the documents over to council member Vicki Appleby, a town attorney, and Clarksville's planning director. And then they waited.
But after that meeting in August of 2008, again, we encountered delay, and what started to become very apparent to us is there really wasn't a desire to enforce the law, to do the right thing.
And with our camera easily catching clear violations inside Theataire X, we wondered too.
That's how dark it is in there.
Town Council President Greg Isgrigg agreed to sit down with us with City Attorney Chris Sturgeon at his side and watch our undercover video.
He's out of the room. More guys in the hall. There's another glory hole in another room.
Isgrigg was surprised by our findings, saying Clarksville City Police have never witnessed such things.
Yeah, we've had a couple times that they've been in and they haven't seen what your guy seen.
I cannot believe that we went in the only 5 or 6 times that this happened.
Well,
You tell me police can't find this?
No, I mean,
We decided to dig a little further. A trip to the Clark County Courthouse turned up these documents. In 2005, Clarksville Police Chief Dwight Engel filed this election form listing his address as 902 North Clark Boulevard. When we pulled the deed, we discovered that home is owned by Dan Hensley. This document lists Hensley as the CEO of Theataire X.
Hi, good morning. Is Dwight Engel here?
No, he's not.
Is Dan Hensley?
No.
Neither man was at the home when we went knocking, and we've learned Hensley retired from Theataire X 4 years ago.
Has he ever lived here?
He might have lived here once with my father.
But Dan Hensley's daughter told us the two had lived together at one time, but not anymore. Something Engel confirmed to us later on.
Is Dwight Engel in?
Who's going?
Carrie Weil from Wave TV.
But only over the phone after ducking our camera for a day. Chief Engel also said in his 24 years with Clarksville PD, 18 as chief, he's been part of 2 investigations into Theataire X. Both cases were lost in court. When I asked about his relationship with Dan Hensley, he told me, quote, "Personal friends are my personal business."
You're trying to make a connection between the two, and I think you're trying to say where there's smoke, there's fire, but we don't know that yet. You've brought it to our attention, and it's something we'll have to check into.
City Attorney Chris Sturgeon is fighting Theataire X in court right now over one ordinance violation. In October, the store was cited for staying open past 1 a.m. Their lawyers want the case dismissed, saying the ordinance is unconstitutional.
After they were cited, that's the sign that went up at Theataire X.
Is it up there now?
No, this was back in October.
Just as the sign says, Theataire X remains open 24/7. Sturgeon says his hands are tied until a judge has his say.
Well, until we know whether or not our ordinance is valid, it'd be kind of fruitless to go forward with further citations or further litigation.
As for the criminal activity, like the open sex in the theaters and oral sex between Pete booths, President Greg Isgrigg says he's seen enough to take action.
Well, I'd like to start a task force with the prosecutor. I've kicked this around before that we need, to prosecute these people.
Have you ever contacted the prosecutor?
They know about it.
Have you ever contacted
Not me
the
personally.
prosecutor?
I'm not an attorney.
We will track this plan to start a task force and let you know what happens. While producing this story and as part of my phone conversation with Chief Dwight Engel, he asked me to contact Judge Dan Donahue. He was the Clark County prosecutor back in the 70s and took a case against Theataire X to court. Chief Engel told me the judge could vouch for his police work. What Judge Donahue told me today in regards to the chief and the town council's efforts even surprised me.
I think it's a lot of BS. I mean, I really think they misled Rock, and I really think they've misled the people of this community. It's a horrible situation out there, and they have the tools to do it. And they could do it on a daily basis. They could invoke that ordinance on a daily basis, and to take a position that we're going to wait and see what's going to happen to this first time around, I think is just feeding them a bunch of crock.
As a lawyer, when you look at this, you think this could move forward ordinance-wise each and every day then?
Absolutely. From my opinion, it could do that. They could continue to do that and rack up those particular fines until it gets to the point where it's going to be too costly to keep that operation going.
Dwight Engel suggested I contact you about his involvement in your prosecution, the investigation that led up to the prosecution. What do you remember about Dwight Engel?
Absolutely nothing. I mean, I don't remember Dwight assisting me in any way.
Tomorrow night, the third and final part of our investigation, we'll look at how Clarksville's Theataire X is costing the city of Jeffersonville and the personal costs paid by one former customer. Carrie Weil, Wave 3 News.